Wild West era ended in 1920 and goes as far back as 1607, but what we're more interested in is the American frontier era. That began after the Civil War in 1865 and ended around 1895 and spawned not only some of the greatest American myths and legends, but also an entire genre of entertainment that remains popular to this day. The frontier drew many people, not only Americans. At one point, the 10,000 residents in Wyoming were from over 56 different nationalities. But why are we sitting here, John? It's time to get the hell out of Dodge!
Because that's how you get ants!
The Wild West is kind of a strange and wonderful place. It taps into the early wanderlust of the American spirit, the notion of heading off, staking out a piece of land, and building something of your own. The legend of Pecos Bill was first written down in 1917, but the tales were allegedly based on the stories shared by ranch hands around the fire after a long day on the range. As the legend goes, Pecos Bill was one of 18 children born in Texas in the 1830s. He fell out of a wagon when his parents were crossing the Pecos River, as one does, and was raised by coyotes. His brother tracked him down and convinced him he wasn't part of the pack. Once he got back to civilization, Pecos was busy. He's said to have invented the branding iron, the lasso, and cowboy songs to soothe cattle. His horse was named Widowmaker, whose favorite food was dynamite, but Pecos was so tough, he rode a mountain lion as often as he rode a horse. One of the most notorious feats is lassoing a tornado. While Pecos Bill might be one of the most impressive American legends to ever have not existed, we're going to achieve a more impressive feat, lassoing anything nice to say about Tall Tale.
Disney's Tall Tale, the unbelievable adventures of Pecos Bill.
In 1995, Disney decided to take on not only Pecos Bill, but several American legends. The film flopped dramatically. With a $32 million budget, the estimated worldwide gross for its opening weekend was $11 million. The film takes place in 1905. Nick Stahl plays Daniel Hackett, a teen growing up on his family's farm in Paradise Valley. He hates it. He's out plowing the field when a car drives by and he chases it into town. He wants the city, he wants lights, he wants progress, and Paradise Valley is stuck in the past. The setting is interesting. It's the Industrial Revolution in America. Machinery is taking over. It's not just about trains anymore. I think you can see where this is going. Daniel's having trouble connecting to his father, a man who fought tooth and nail for everything he's earned. The two go out fishing where Elder Hackett tells tales of Pecos Bill, and Daniel's heard them all before. The next day, Hackett heads in for a town meeting. Daniel follows. Developer J.P. Stiles is offering $50 an acre to the residents to buy out their land. We find out later that the valley is full of natural resources that will more than pay for the cost of the farms. Hackett refuses. After the meeting, sensing trouble, he gives the deed of the farm to Daniel and tells him to keep it safe. He then gets shot by Stiles' lackeys. Hackett is laid up and we're not sure if he'll recover. The rest of the residents are thinking of selling. After all, a plot of land isn't worth dying over. Distraught, Daniel runs off and hides in a rowboat. He falls asleep and drifts to Texas. Two outlaws rob him and are stopped when Pecos Bill shoots off their trigger fingers.
I'm a ringtail roar. I could draw faster, shoot straighter, ride harder, and drink longer than any man alive. I ride cyclones and I rest...
Got a name, don't you?
I'm getting to that. I am the rip-snortingest cowboy that ever rode north, south, east, or west of the Rio Grande. I'm Pecos Bill.
William H. Macy has a cameo as one of the developers. I'm gonna call it like I see it. The facial hair game is on point in this movie. Pecos Bill is played by the late, great Patrick Swayze, who is more than happy to ham it up in this larger-than-life role. He asks Daniel where he's from and says he'll help him get back, but they won't be able to save his farm alone. They go to recruit Paul Bunyan. When they get to a logging town, they find it has been taken over by machinery. Industrialization has come for the West. One of the workers remembers Bunyan. One day he just took his axe and walked away. Everyone tries to grab Daniel as Stiles has put a bounty on his head, but Pecos and Daniel escape and head to the Redwood Forest to find Bunyan. They get to him and he's played by Oliver Platt, which is just...
They're not loggers, they're butchers. Them with their fancy machines, cutting down everything inside, the weak with the strong, the sapling with the full growth, so nothing could ever sprout again.
He's kind of a drunk loser. He claims no one has any respect for the land anymore. The way they clear-cut the forest will make it so that nothing ever grows again. The movie continues to weave an ecological message in without turning it into the same kind of films of that era. We get it, Fern Gully, you can chill. The message might have been a little diluted for me because it's framed in the larger American dream narrative. Later in the movie, Daniel is telling them about New York City, where everything is always lit and you can't see the stars, to which his companions accuse him of telling them a tall tale. Pecos Bill uses some reverse psychology to get Bunyan on board. He comes along with Babe the Blue Ox. Even though he joins, Bunyan is the naysayer and thinks Daniel is nothing but trouble. The team heads to Liberty, where they come across John Henry, played by Roger Aaron Brown, about to race a machine at steel driving, which is where someone drives a stake into the ground, creating a hole for the dynamite to blow something up.
Even money, Pecos, you can do better than that.
Daniel is holding the steel and fails, making Henry lose. We get a line from all three tall tales that it doesn't matter as long as Daniel did his best, and we sort of get the idea that maybe Daniel wasn't actually doing his best. While they're in a saloon, the four toast to the code of the West. Daniel spits on a guy's shoe who turns around looking for a fight. Pecos inserts himself and calms the thug down until he insults Texas. As everyone knows, you don't bother Texas. No? That's not how the saying goes? A bar fight ensues, which is interrupted by Catherine O'Hara as Calamity Jane, which is a movie I would stop recording this right now to go and watch.
Gutless, brainless, heartless, sidewinder!
Unfortunately, it's only a cameo. They hint at a previous relationship between her and Bill, and she gets to throw out some of the best insults. Then she shoots his outline to where he stands there and succumbs to his fate. The three tall tales are jailed. Daniel tries to free them with Babe when Styles and his men show up. Bunyan comes to Daniel's rescue. They head out towards Paradise Valley. As they're crossing the endless desert, they get cornered by Styles. Daniel has learned nothing and yells at the tall tales that they aren't real. They stand around repeating their origins to Daniel as he gives up and hands over the deed, only to wake up in the boat back at the dock. He still has the deed. Of course, it was all just a dream. While he's been asleep, his father has recovered a bit. Daniel heads out to confront Styles as they break through a mountain into the valley. Daniel blocks the train. Styles tries to run him over, to which Daniel tries to push back. Just as he's about to be run over, the train stops. John Henry is holding it back, and emotions, guys.
God help me.
What the hell?
John Henry! Where have you been?
Just waiting for you to make your move, Daniel. Just waiting for you to make your move.
Styles' lackeys run out and have all their trigger fingers shot off by Pecos. Bunyan runs through the tunnel, smashing through all the supports. With Henry and the rest of the Paradise Valley residents, they push the train back. Bunyan gives Daniel the axe for the final support and he collapses the tunnel. The tall tales come to wish Daniel goodbye. His dad watches as they meet in the field. John and Bunyan walk off, fading away. Pecos leaves Widowmaker, his horse, with Daniel, and lassos a tornado to leave. Tall Tale ended up in Nostalgia Month because when I was a wee one, my family would go to the library. We had a pretty standard movie rotation, Rock-a-Doodle, Space Jam, and Tall Tale. I don't really know why I liked it as a kid. Maybe I thought Patrick Swayze was hot. Maybe I was in love with Oliver Platt. Maybe I still am.
Yeah!
Tall Tale is a fun movie about man's constant struggle against advancing technology. Just because it's a movie from 1995 set in 1905 doesn't mean it isn't relevant today. America has spawned myths and legends, but we don't really have fairy tales. We have tall tales. We have myths that aim more at the wanderlust, the simplicity, and maybe even a little naivety of the American dream. Sometimes I do want to get away from the city, the lights, the industrialization, the constant connection of devices and social media. I know you won't believe this, but I was one of those nerdy kids who liked to read. I was fascinated by the tall tales and the hand-me-down literary tradition. Why did Tall Tale do so poorly? I don't know. Maybe the interest in traditional American folktales is dying. Maybe that's exactly what the movie was warning about. Thanks for watching this episode of Anything Nice to Say. Hitch a ride on a tornado and never be ashamed to like what you like. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to get notified when we post our videos. Check out our other videos, including Two Authors Talking, where I find another author and we shoot the breeze. If you have a movie you want us to review, drop it in the comments below. Let's be honest, you know how all this works by now. Subscribe on Patreon for exclusives, early access, and more, and head over to our merch store for our new designs.